So good evening, everyone. Just a few minutes after 6. Thank you for your patience. So my name is Reverend Witter, and this is my favorite night of the year. And it's the first time I've been able to call myself that on a burning bowl ceremony. It's very exciting. And I will tell you a little story. One of the exercises for the new year is to imagine that it's December 31st of 2025, and to write someone a letter about how your life had unfolded. And for years and years and years, I mean, probably 10 years, I put something about ministerial school, and I never did it. Until finally I went, this has to be somebody else's good idea, because clearly it's on every year and you never do anything about it. And so it was off the paper for, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so. And all of a sudden it was time. So even if you put something down or you have it in your head and your heart, it comes at the time that it's supposed to come, which is the most exciting thing to me. So thank you for being here tonight. We're going to be doing some things a little differently this year. One of them is, for those of you who went to the spiritual practice on Thursday, if you saw out in the lobby, there's a fire pit out there. We're not going to burn it out there. We're going to take the fire pit outside, but I didn't want to encourage anyone to take it home with them before we got out there. I don't know, I'm going to have to wait around here. Who knows? Maybe New Year's by the time I leave, because it has to cool off enough to be able to bring it anywhere. But so when we're done with the ceremony here inside, for those of us who want to stay and participate in what could potentially be a bonfire, because I was afraid that it wouldn't catch fire. So there's a lot of wood under there and a lot of things that are flammable. And inside the box, it has things that will burn fast. So it could either go really fast or not, because this is the first year we've done it. So it is an experiment. So if you would like to join me in that experiment, please do. And if you are busy to get on with your evening, you can feel free to do that as well. So if you would, just take a deep breath and join me in prayer for just a moment. Take a deep breath, and with a audible sigh, release everything that it took, all of the busyness that it took to get you here, all the busyness that awaits you. All of that just goes out with that audible sigh. And one more of those. So right here, right now, in the activity of that pure, sweet spirit that is peace and joy, love, happiness, harmony, wisdom, clarity, kindness, compassion, understanding, and so very, very much more. It is the power that is in charge here tonight. It is the power that has a perfect idea for how this evening will unfold. And our job is simply to open our hearts and allow that to happen. For I know that that power lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as each of you, in, through, and as anyone listening, in, through, and as everyone everywhere. Whether we understand them, agree with them, love them, whatever it may be, there is no place where God is not. That divine energy is in everything, in everyone. And so we allow that to be the energy that we see in one another, the energy that we know is moving through each of us. And as we go forward this evening, I know that everything that needs to be looked at and released, whether it's done consciously or unconsciously, is easily and effortlessly done. And as we begin to look forward to this next year, that everything that needs to come forward also does as well. And we create a cauldron inside of us that allows those ideas for the upcoming year to simply begin to bubble up. That they don't have to all appear now, that we just set that process in motion, knowing that the universe indeed has that exquisiteness in each of us that will allow itself to be made known when it's time to be made known. So I am grateful for each and every person who has come here tonight to allow themselves to let go of that which no longer serves them, whether they're aware of it or not. That our hearts and our soul know what needs to be released. They are frequently far ahead of our mind. And so we simply allow this time to be a time that we go deep within, knowing that that absolute energy of the divine that knows is what's in charge. So I give thanks and I release this evening out into the activity of that spirit, knowing that with the synchronicity of love and law, the universe indeed has already said yes. And so it is. So tonight, in addition to doing the potentially massive flame outside, or potentially almost nothing, who knows, because it's all an experiment. So in addition to that, tonight, I will tell you, the longer I do this, whether it's this process or the studying that I do, the more I really believe that our conscious mind is merely a tool, and that our heart, and at a very deep soul level, that knows what needs to be released. And so when I first started this, I used actual lined paper. And we had a flame outside, and my favorite story, a woman who's no longer with us, who I just love dearly, she folded her paper up so tight that it would not burn. There was no oxygen in that paper to catch fire. I had to literally get a poker and pull it apart so that it would burn. And so I went, I don't know. And then I went to a ceremony with a friend, and he was using flash paper. And I went, oh, how lovely. What a great symbol, because it burns in a flash. It has no smoke, and it leaves no residue. There's no ash. And so I went, oh, I love the symbolism of that. So I shifted to flash paper. But I made a big sheet for everybody, which was really horrifying because it would not burn in a flash. I mean, it did flash, but it was a big sheet. And we tried all kinds of ways, pens and pencils and markers. And it's really not paper designed to be written upon. And so I began to make the pages smaller and smaller and smaller. And last year I started not writing on it at all. That really our job when we do the meditation that's coming up is to just go within and trust that our heart and our soul knows exactly what needs to be released. And then when the first release is done, then we'll begin to look at what qualities of God are we looking at creating anew in our lives. What do we want to be born? This is the season where the symbolism is not only light, but of being born anew. And so what do we want to have born anew in us? And like I said in the prayer, that will bubble up. But it will be first that process of allowing it to come forward. And the reason that there's a second piece of flash paper for that is because if you think about the steps of treatment, what's the last step? Letting go. Release. And what better way than to hold that second piece of paper up to our heart and let our heart and our soul fill it with what needs to be brought forward in the new year. And that in that prayer process, when we're ready to let it go so that the universe indeed can allow that bubbling up process to be a more powerful force than to do another flash. So I added that last year, and it really did seem for me to sort of close a loop. Because when you just let go, there is a letting go with setting an expectation. The other thing that I will do slightly differently this year is I'm going to ask you to contemplate. I'll go through the same questions that we ask ourselves in the meditation for contemplation. I change them up a little bit each year, but they're pretty close to the same. I have emails from all kinds of friends who do similar ceremonies, and so we share them, and I frequently steal some of their questions. and they mine. It's a great sharing experience. But the process is really, the more I look, the more I study, the more I go within, what I know is that my job is to just love. That's really my only job. Myself and others. And we say there is no place where God is not. But then we go, but this piece of me is really not good, and I don't like it, and I should get rid of it. Well, what if there's as much God in those pieces of you as there are when you just love it the most? That what if it's not about trying to force letting go of those things? What if it's about letting go of the fact that we judge? Not what we judge about or how we judge, but that we're judging. And not to get rid of it, but to simply go, oh, look, that's just a judgment. Our brains are hardwired to do that. We are literally hardwired to judge, to look for things that are wrong. So I'm going to encourage each of us to begin to look at all of the judgments that we make about ourselves and others and to say, what if my job was just to love here? It doesn't mean I have to like everybody's behavior. It doesn't mean that I don't have boundaries. It just means that my job is really to see past the behavior, mine and others, to see past the attitude, and to say, the truth is we all want to be loved. That's all we want. We want to be loved. We want to be safe. We want to be happy. And so if I'm willing to let go and say, what I know is that this person who I may disagree with profoundly, who I may have just dramatically different beliefs about how life is and how it works. But what if I can just allow them to see them in a loving way? Greg Boyle has a new book out. I'm going to go see him. My 70th birthday present to myself is he's coming to town to speak, and I'm going to go to hear him talk. But his newest book is called Cherished Belonging. And it's, there's always a secondary title, but it's about learning to love in difficult times or something. And he's a master at holding people accountable. He's the creator, the founder of Homeboy Industries, the largest prison reentry and gang separation project on the planet. And he is a master at loving everyone, but having the complete ability to hold them accountable for their actions. And it is the book has so many profound ways to look at that. And so the more I study, the more I know that I believe more and more that's just our job, is to learn how to love unconditionally with that hard part of being able to have a boundary as well. To be able to say no, but say no lovingly. And the second piece that goes with judgment is expectation. So expectation is a paradox. Most of spirituality is a paradox, where things that seem opposite are both true. And in this case, expectations are an absolute essential part of what we teach. I expect that the universe will bring me my good. That's an expectation. I expect that if I am dedicated to my spiritual practice, that my life shifts and change. But if I have an expectation that says, my boss should be different, or they elected the wrong person, or they elected the right person, and the world's going to be better, or the world's going to be worse, or this person is a good person and this person is a bad person. The should, shouldn't, right, wrong, could, couldn't. All of those things that we place our happiness on. The if-then statement. If this happens, then I'll be happy. So It's about being aware of when we resist, when we judge, and when we have expectations. And so for me, the release, so I don't ever do anything with you that I haven't done myself. And my work was profoundly about simply loving myself when I am and I am not doing what I think is what I should, to let go of those shoulds and shouldn'ts. So I'm going to invite you to do the same, to look at kinder ways to see yourself, kinder ways to see the world, without stopping the process of being accountable for your own actions. To not stop the process of being able to say, I know that when I do this, my life isn't as happy. Oh, well, then that'd probably be a good clue as to might not want to do that as much. And I know that when I do that, I feel much better. And it can be just that simple. So the longer I study, the simpler it gets. So if you're ready, I'm going to ask you to take one of your pieces of paper, and hopefully they're all dry by now. They were in the freezer, and I didn't get them out of the freezer fast enough, so that's why they were a little wet when you came in. Because they tell me that if you keep these sheets just out, then the magic that makes it flash evaporates. And it won't flash. It's just paper then. So they were in the freezer, and I didn't take them out soon enough. But they should be dry by the time we get through this process. So when you're ready, just take one of those sheets of paper and put it on your heart, or hold it between your hands, knowing that your hands are connected to your heart and to your very soul, and that everything that you need to look at will absolutely flow through you and out into that paper. And so I will ask you to take a deep breath and to allow your mind to open, and to simply allow thoughts to come to you and through you, to let the answers come as they do and don't have them mean anything. They just are the answers that come up. And the first part is always to look at 2024 and to ask yourself, what things do I not want to bring with me into this new year? So it's things like, what did you do in life this year that you would, if you had a mulligan, if you're a golfer, if you had a do-over, is there one thing that you would simply say, that's my one big one for a do-over? And we'll come back to looking at the things that work and don't work. But I also want to look at first now, what worked for you this year? What worked that you're really willing to allow to remain in your life? So things like, what are you most grateful for about this past year? What did you love about the year, or your best memories, or your favorite adventure? What was the single best thing that happened? Did you have some unexpected joys, some unexpected delights? What in your life did just that? What delighted you? What made you say, oh, awe and wonder, oh? What experiences most blessed and nourished you? Who supported you in this year? What were the events or the people that touched your heart and your soul? Who had an influence on you this year? What nourished you and blessed you? What made you feel most self-expressed? What made you feel purposeful? What happened that you didn't think would happen? What didn't happen that you thought would? And what surprised you? Were there game changers, unexpected things that when they happened, it just made all the difference? Are there places in your life where you grew or expanded, transformed or healed, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, physically, personally, professionally? What areas of your life have been made more? What did you learn? Was there a single really profound lesson in your life, or several of them? If I asked you, what are your superpowers? Those things which you know you do really well. We all have our own gifts, and we tend to kind of push them away, some of us. Allow yourself to really own that which is uniquely yours to do in an extraordinary manner. Was there something you were truly courageous about this year? What took courage to get through for you? And you were. You are here, so you obviously got through. What was your most selfless act this year? Was there something that you got clear on, that you've been kind of chewing on, mulling for a while, that made itself known to you? Are there ways that you grew spiritually? I like this one. This one is always one that makes me, this one is probably the one that I spend the most time on when I'm doing this exercise myself. What are 3 words that describe you and your year? 3 words that you would use to describe yourself in this year. And if you asked a friend, what 3 words do you think they would use? I did ask 2 very close friends of mine what theirs were, and they were nothing like the ones I chose for myself. What qualities of God were evident for you this year? So now we begin to shift a little bit and ask some questions. One of the things that Parker Palmer, one of my favorite authors, he's a Quaker, and he asks us, he believes that we ask the wrong questions if we ask, what do I want? Even how do I want to be? His belief is you ask, have I lived up to my values this year? Have I lived in my values? And are you living the life that capital L life, that the life wants to give you, to live in you and as you and through you? What life wants to live in you? One of his quotes is, let the highest truths and values guide everything you do. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent. That's what I mean by allowing your soul to let those things bubble up. So turn now to a little bit of what do I want to let go of? What disappointments and regrets or upsets did you experience this year? Were there some missed opportunities? Were there things that you didn't get around to? One that kind of makes me always cringe a little. What was your single biggest time waster in your life this year? I hate answering that one, because I have so much judgment. That's a great opportunity for me to look at how judging, how mean I can be to me. Is there part of your journey this year that you would like to rewrite? What do you think the single biggest challenge that you may face when you look at what you want in the upcoming year? And are you committed to doing what you need to do to not let those get in your way? As you look forward to next year, what would you like to see less of? Or what are you ready to release? But for me, the release thing can kind of get a lot of tentacles on it. But what would I like to see less of is an easier question to answer. What shards or pieces or parts of your life have you left unclaimed and unloved in your life? Those orphaned parts of you that you judge harshly enough that you don't even want to acknowledge that they're there. What tweaks do you need to make in your spiritual practice going forward, and how will it support you? And how have you blocked letting yourself be supported? That's one of the things that gets in the way for most of us. We don't let ourselves be supported to the extent, even if we're really good at it, we can always open up and allow for more. So Spirit is calling you into a greater way of being in the world than you can even imagine in this moment, in ways that you're fully alive and you thrive, and to accept those greater levels of good, it requires that we let go of that which no longer serves us. And the first time I was asked this question, made me grumpy, actually, shocking. But the question was, is there good in your life that you'd be willing to let go of to make room for something even better? That was a hard one for me. It's not so hard anymore, but it was very hard at the time. So in your heart right now, with just a word or two, allow yourself to think, to make way for the infinite amount of good that's available to me. What old residue of the past do you need to let go of? Just a word or two that summarizes. What about yourself and your life have you not fully accepted? Where you're holding shame, embarrassment, anger, resentment. What prompts you to judge yourself and others harshly? You know, Reverend Karen talked about forgiveness last week. For me, the definition of forgiveness is getting to the point where I don't hold anyone outside of my heart. Marianne Williamson says you have to forgive everyone for everything, but it doesn't mean you have to go to lunch with them. Right? So are you willing to soften your heart so that nothing is outside of that? We all have stories that go on in our minds, stories that we tell ourselves. What storyline are you sick of that you're just ready to be done with? Because we all seem to have some recurring stories. Are there any other burdens that you're carrying that you need to let go of? And I love this one. Look at all of the things you've contemplated thus far. And if there was just one that you know that if you let go of that, it'd be like the dominoes that would fall, and all the others would simply begin to fall away gently and easily. And are you willing to allow all of these things that you're leaving behind here tonight to allow them to fall away with a sense of grace and ease, with a sense of loving kindness, with a sense of compassion and understanding. That there doesn't need to be drama or trauma, that things, whether it's a person, a place, or a thing, a health condition, whatever it may be, to simply allow it to go with grace and ease. Are you willing to let go of the size of your life today to make room for the opportunity to be more fully alive? So I'm going to light some candles now in these bowls and just keep that process in your heart of seeing everything that needs to go goes with grace and ease. And it's not the judgments that are associated with them. It's just that you judge and you don't have to. That you're exactly as the divine made you to be, in all the ways that you think are good and all the ways that you think are not. To just allow all of that to fall into a pool of loving kindness. And when you're ready, you can come up. And now I will say there's a couple ways you can deal with your flash paper. One of them is to kind of crumple it up or roll it up, put it in the sand, and take a candle and light it so you don't have to worry about setting your, because it's a little alarming when it goes whoosh. And it even makes me jump, and I've been doing this for years. So you can do that. You can set it in the sand and light it on fire with one of the candles, or you can gently hold it over a candle and let go, and as it falls, it will flame away. So just allow yourself to take some deep breaths and see that there is a sense of grace and ease, that in addition to everything else that has gone into that paper, there is grace, there is ease, there is loving kindness, and they are released in a happy, healthy way. And this gold thing that's on the floor is actually a welder's tarp, so that if a spark does fly or the paper does get away from you, it's designed to catch it, to not burn, and to not worry. So if welders can use it, I figure we can't do much of anything that would get in the way. So Clyde, if you would start the music, that would be lovely. So just allow yourself now to stop and put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath and give thanks. Give thanks that the universe knew exactly what needed to be let go, exactly how it needed to be released. And that conscious awareness of what needs to be let go of, if it's important, if you need to know any details about that which was released, that your heart and soul will allow that to bubble up, and the awareness or the wisdom or the understanding that those things will come to you. And if it doesn't come to you, that whatever it was can be just like taking out the trash. We don't dig through the trash and go, "Ooh, I don't know, this might have eggshells and coffee grounds, but shouldn't let it go." It's really just the same. We tie the bag, we take it to the trash, and we let the trash guys come get it. So give thanks. Give thanks, knowing that the universal wisdom indeed has done its work and will continue to do so. And now I'd like you to take the second piece of paper, put it over your heart, and we'll do a little of the fun stuff. Because this is the time to begin churning the new. Some of us have a very clear idea of what we want. Some of us don't. Some of us know that whatever we decide today, if we're open, could be supplanted by something even better. And that's my wish for you, is that you know that there is always something more. And that as we go through this process of opening our hearts to receive, to be ready, to till the soil, to allow the roots to go deep. That's our theme for next year, roots. Knowing that we have roots that will indeed always find what we need. That those roots are now, the soil is being cultivated for those roots to take a strong hold. And the first thing we do now in this, as we prepare for this new year, is to begin to look at what we desire for 2025. And I know that New Year's resolutions are and intentions and goals are all important things. I really believe the real important thing is to ask yourself, what qualities do you want to have more of in your life? More peace, more joy, more happiness, more harmony, more wisdom, more clarity, more understanding, more kindness or compassion, whatever yours might be, that when we focus on allowing more of those things to come, the details take care of themselves. I really believe that for many of us, we sell ourselves short. One of the quotes that Greg Boyle has that I dearly love is he talks about settling for a puny God. And how often we settle for less than what the universe is anxious to give us. The level of happiness and harmony. And that doesn't mean that life unfolds perfectly, that we all do. I don't know if you remember Steve Martin, and he did Happy Feet on Saturday Night Live, where he would just kind of frantically dance around. And I used to think that that's what happiness and joy was supposed to look like and feel like. That's just Steve Martin. So it's about saying, where and how can I let more joy in? Can I let more love in? Can I let more happiness and harmony in? Can I allow whatever big events that I know are coming up in my life? And I know that each of us have something that's a big thing, whether it's, in my case, my retirement, a wedding, or a promotion, or whatever it may be, a birth of a child or a grandchild, or who knows what. But we have something that's out there waiting for us. And our job is to simply open our hearts and let it in. And then one of the biggest questions I will ask you tonight is, how will you let yourself be supported this year? Because we are not an island. A lone wolf is an unhealthy wolf. As opposed to being proud of being a lone wolf, know that that's one that's been divorced from its pack for one reason or another. We are creatures who are hardwired to love and be loved. So I will ask you, as you look at what you're putting into this paper for next year, I'm going to ask you to open your heart in ways that you can't even conceive of tonight, to allow yourself to be supported in other ways than you have imagined up to now, to let people love you and support you, to say yes. So is there something in this upcoming year that you need to do or to be to make you feel more intentional and alive in every area of your life? Some of us are really good. We can have areas of our life where we go, I'm kicking this one. I got this one. And in other areas we go, yeah, not so much. So allow the good parts that you're just kicking it with to get even better. And the parts that aren't working so well, to just open your heart to let them unfold with a higher level of grace and ease, to be supported, to be loved. What qualities of God? Think about those now. And take a little stroll through your life mentally. And I'll use love or peace or joy. But if I had more love or more peace, more joy in my finances, in my health, in my relationships, in my community, in my job, in whatever it may be, what would my life look like if there was more of that quality in it? I will tell you, even though it's dark, I can see smiles beginning to appear on people's faces. What relationships do you want to have? How do you want them to be? Are there any creative projects that you're excited to begin? How will those qualities of God be embodied in your life? And how will your life change as a result? Is there something you need to get really clear on? Just allow your mind and your heart to open to that. Are there new relationships you want to call in? Creative projects you want to do? What are some ways that you could share those expanded qualities of the divine, of the universe? How could you share them in your life in ways that you haven't before, in richer and fuller ways? What would it take for you to move with more confidence and more loving kindness into this new year? And again, to the 3 words. Ask yourself, what 3 words would I like when I think about doing this same thing next year? What 3 words would I like to be able to use to describe my life? What 3 words would I like to have other people use when they describe me and my life? And allow those to just take root. And so now I'm going to ask you to expand. outside of yourself and say, what blessings and desires do I have for others in my life? My loved ones, my family, my friends. What blessings and desires for greater levels of good do I wish for this community? For this beloved community? What desires for good do I hold for the world? We make a difference. Our desires that we put out into the world matter. It's like pouring clear, clean water into a bucket that has dirt. The more clear, clean water we pour in, the dirt bubbles up, comes out, until the bucket is fully clean. What desires do you have for yourself, for your friends, for your family, for this community, and for the world? There are two quotes that I dearly love. One is from a woman by the name of Margaret Wheatley. What will I do to create islands of sanity that evoke and rely on our best human qualities to create, produce, and preserve? And Emma Curtis Hopkins says, show me the words that make the world glad and sane. How will I allow the universe to show me those words that will make the world glad and sane? In what way? Are there any words that come to mind? Are you willing to take a stand, to being one of the people who creates an island of sanity where there is just love? That we've learned to be accountable for ourselves and to have boundaries, but to do so with a deep sense of loving kindness. To the extent that you can, please put that commitment into this paper. Because as we do a treatment for those things, we know that these things come from the divine, to us, through us, and as us. For we are inextricably connected to that divine source. We are inextricably connected to each other. And that love is that which binds us. So as we move forward, all of those things that our heart has put into this paper and more, add to that this or something better, this and so much more than I can even imagine. And that all of this comes to me with a sense of grace and ease in a happy, healthy, loving, kind way. That it is, my life overflows with a sense of joy and with a sense of contentment. That those feelings can dominate regardless of what the circumstance may be. So put each of those into that paper, and when you're ready, take a moment and be grateful. Be grateful for everything that you have and everything that you do not have. Everything that you know is coming, everything that you want to be included, and all of the things that you don't. That this is a time to simply open. Imagine that your heart and your mind and your very soul are like a balloon that can never break. Allow yourself to take a deep breath, and as you exhale, that balloon gets bigger. And with each exhale, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And each time we touch another person, we make a difference. It makes a difference in our lives and in theirs. And so with this extraordinary sense of gratitude, knowing that the universe is conspiring to bring us our good, that our only job is to open, to receive, to be willing to let them come to us in sources through avenues known and unknown, to allow. That is actually the word that, as I have done my work this year, that's the word that has kept coming up for me. This is the year to allow for me. What am I willing to allow? So when you're ready, as a part of that release process, you can come up and do the same and know that as you light that little piece of paper on fire, you are turning it over now to the wisdom of the divine that will allow all of the ways that and all of the things that need to change to bring it into fruition to simply unfold with that sense of grace and ease. So as we go forward, we do so with a sense of excitement, enthusiasm, expectancy of good, and more good. That we do so knowing that how is not our job. That our job is to be open, to allow, and to be clear on the qualities of life that we want to demonstrate this year. And let the universe do the heavy lifting. That's its job, is to present to us the avenues through which our good can come. Our job is simply to stay open, to look, sort of like when you were a kid. Stop, look, and listen, and then act. As we say, treat and move your feet. So there are 2 pages at the very end. The last page are things that are homework assignments for you. And that is, their descriptions. There's power in our words. I love Danielle Laporte's work, and she talks a lot when she talks about setting intentions with soul, with heart and soul. She talks about looking at words and getting out a thesaurus and digging through and finding all the other similar words that go with it. And allow the words to make a difference, to keep them in your mind. And then it gives you the opportunity to just write a little scenario about how each of these areas you would like to have those parts fill up in your life. And the last page is that process of writing a letter. Write a letter now as if it were 2026 or January 1st, 2026 or December 31st, 2025, looking back. And allow yourself to just dream. To dream and to wonder and to not censure or censor anything, but to just wander joyfully about how you'd like this life to look in the upcoming year. So I thank you for having the courage to come tonight to let go of those pieces and parts of your life that no longer serve you, to find ways to be kinder and more loving to yourself, to open your heart and soul to the very process of allowing the universe to bring us our good. And the commitment to being those islands of sanity, of having those words that are indeed the ones that we can use to touch the lives of others. Because even when we don't know we're doing it, we touch the lives of others. And we make a difference in the world. If you walk away with anything tonight, I want you to take away a deeper sense of belief that you matter. What you think, what you do matters. You don't have to cure cancer, heal the sick, raise the dead, create world peace by noon. But your peace matters. Don't diminish it. Bless it. Feed it. Fuel it. Fan it. Because you make a difference. So thank you all for being here, and we're going to haul that little fire pit out now to somewhere where I won't burn the building down, and we're going to see what happens when we catch it on fire. Thank you, everybody.